To see you too, Tony.
Glad you're able to join us today.
Me too.
All right, first, how many of you have actually read the Constitution of the state of Florida?
I've served there.
How many of you have actually read the Pinellas County Charter?
7.
All right, and back to what Mr. Wheeler said. Yes, how many of you understand in order for something to be put on the ballot, it has to be deemed constitutional?
He's the winner.
And how many of you actually read this Supreme Court decision?
That's
Which one is it?
This is the one from the Supreme Court, the Florida Supreme Court. Not the one that was forwarded by the county. This is the actual one from the Florida Supreme Court.
The May 10th decision?
May 10th,
Okay, that's the
2012.
Telly decision.
Right. Glad to see at least somebody did.
At least we're honest.
Right. How many of you have read the slip opinion from the Attorney General? Yeah.
Which
This is
slip
just,
opinion is that, sir?
a copy of what the actual referendum was in '96.
Well, I've read that
In case you need
language.
it for edification.
It's
but-
upside down.
It's upside down? Well, we can rectify
No,
that.
flip it over.
Flip it, folks.
Tony, flip it.
How's
up.
that?
No,
Text
you,
Face up.
you want the text up.
Text up.
So
Oh,
there
you go.
okay.
Bingo.
Let me
There you go.
just ask a quick question. So the slip opinion you're referencing is the same thing as the language of the 96
I
referendum?
don't believe so. I'm not sure what the slip opinion is. If you'll hand it to me, I'll take a look at it and see what it is.
Be happy. There's been a lot said on term limits. And
If I might interrupt, this is the slip opinion for the Second District Court of Appeals original decision that was
Gotcha.
then reversed.
Okay.
and I'm going to be placing all this in for the record.
It's all blurry.
It's Joe Petrillo.
Oh, yeah, Joseph.
Right. January 1999. All right, after the proceedings of the trial court, an amended order of final judgment, right, in that order, the trial court ratified its order of September 6, 1996. And before I move on, basically what they said is that the referendum was constitutional. And at that time, all these charter initiatives should have been placed in the Pinellas County Charter. No answers, buts, or maybes. No other decision need be necessary. It should have been put in. If it was reversed after that, yes, it had to be pulled out. And if it was changed again, it had to be put back in. So why wasn't it put in the first place? Anybody?
I'll
of us
answer
were
the
here.
question. The answer is there was a stay of the order, and it was not in a position to put in the charter because there was an automatic stay in place, and the court would not allow us to put it in the charter.
Okay. All right. Reasonable answer. Well, as this case proceeded, right, it went to the first district court, then it went to the second district court,
It went just to the Second District Court of Appeal.
it went to the first district court as a district court,
Oh, okay.
Try.
then it went to the second district court as a district court, then it went to the second district court of appeals.
It went from the trial court to the Second District Court of Appeal and ultimately to the Supreme Court.
Right. But it went through two district courts first.
No.
Yes. Well, then somebody has their information wrong, and I will have to pull that out for you.
We only have one district court that governs, adheres decisions out of Pinellas County, and that's the Second District Court of Appeal.
Well, our so-called newspaper, then evidently gets the information wrong.
I can't imagine that.
I don't know, maybe I need a break. after
Right,
that.
Justice Anstead, well, that's on the dissension, right? But they all refer to the first and second district's opinions. And these papers will be put in
Okay.
as part of the record.
The Cook case was the case that came out of Duval County that went to the First District Court of Appeal. Our case went to the Second District Court of Appeal. Both of those decisions went up to the Supreme Court.
But what you're leaving out was, after it left the district court, Pinellas County itself was no longer part of that procedure. The only ones that were part of that procedure, bringing that appellate to the appellate court, was the constitutionals involved. It was not the county commissioners, which stepped back from pursuing it. Now, if they stepped back from pursuing the issue, why wasn't what the voters determined put into the county charter? It's a simple question. The county commission decided not to go forward with it at that time. They stepped back from it. The only ones that did go forward were certain constitutionals, and they are separate. Why wasn't the charter amendment put into the charter at that time and followed according to law?
If I could just jump in and ask a question, would the court-ordered stay from putting it into the charter have applied all the way through the process, or would that have changed when it went to the appellate level?
All the way through the
So it would have
process. There was an
stayed in-
automatic
so the
stay
answer
in
to
place
this
as
is-
we went forward.
The answer to this is the same as it was at the trial level, court-ordered.
But the county didn't go forward. They dropped out of it.
The commissioners did, but the case stayed in
The
effect.
case went in as far as the constitutionals. The constitutionals being supervisor of elections, the
Right,
sheriff.
but they pursued the
Right.
entire case. The case stayed the same.
Still two separate issues. It's regarded as two separate charter amendments. Section 301 and Section 3.01 and Section 4.03.
Okay, let me ask.
Two separate
okay.
things,
It's a good point.
two separate cases.
Let me clarify with the attorney. As it was appealed, when a constitutional officer was pursuing the appeal, the commissioners were not. Were they pursuing an appeal on both portions of this, or just the constitutional portion?
Both portions, there was a single question with two amendments, but a single question, and they were pursuing the single question.
Okay, so both went through the process
Correct.
and had the same outcomes.
And the stay
No.
applies to both.
The constitutionals were seeking a declaratory judgment, or actually an opinion from the court as to their standing. They weren't speaking for the county commissioners, nor were they speaking for the charter amendment. And there is a statement from Fred Petty at the time. I'm sure if I don't find that, somebody else will, and read it to you, right? But that's why I asked if you guys read all this stuff, because it is there. And back to the Supreme Court of their latest decision, they don't refer to anything as far as going forward. They just receded from the last idiot's mistake. Right? Because it was unjustifiable. They determined that they did not look at it in the proper rationale. Now, if you're going to apply something in the wrong rationale to start with, right, it has to be receded from, which means when you recede, you eliminate. It goes back to the beginning. And if it's going back to the beginning, this goes back to the original 1996 vote and the 1999 district opinion. Right. And therefore, these things should have been in the county charter. The only thing that was unconstitutional about the county at that time, right, is the argument that they made, right, that they should be considered, right, as a constitutional officer, because they're not. And you people have to realize you serve at the will of the people. You are elected to office. And we, the people, can change the charter by voter referendum. There's one of the 3 ways of doing it. Right? You people don't even have to be elected. We can even change how that is done. So as much as you think we're a bunch of blooming idiots with wearing tinfoil hats out here, right? Start waking up. We are reading these things and we are understanding these things. And you people do not want to listen to the people, so you try and find ways around it. Susan, you have said you've been for term limits. Nancy, I know you've worked to help collect petitions for that initiative. Norm, I definitely know is for term limits. Right? Why haven't this thing been done the right way the first time, so we wouldn't be here wasting our time arguing on this? This is what the people keep complaining about. And that's why we're upset with the process and everything that's going on. We believe in following the Constitution and the laws of our land. And we expect our officials to do the same thing. And what I demand is that this be put in the charter instantly and be recognized as of the year 2000. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. A lot of people. Oh, you have a question for Jim?
For Jim.
Okay, go ahead.
Or maybe
Mr. Rose.
anybody who's here. When the BOCC pulled out of the case or the suit or didn't decide to go forward, was there a resolution done? Was there a meeting, a public hearing, or some sort of explanation as to why the board pulled out?
I don't recall. That was 12, 13 years ago. I don't recall exactly
Would that have required
what was done on
a
that.
public meeting or an action to pull out of a suit as it is to go into one?
Generally, I don't know the answer to that question. Back in 13 years ago, I can't recall. I can look that up.
Yeah, I think that would be important. 'Cause
I
if there
think
is
we'd all
something-
like to hear what happened back then,
Yeah, and why?
considering none of us were here.
Yeah.
I think I was there,
Were you there?
and I'm going from memory, but I know we talked about it at a meeting.
At a meeting, yeah.
And so you should be able to find the minutes, and I think part of our concern was cost. As I recall.
This one.
Was cost?
Of pursuing or continuing a suit. But then was there a delegation that